Game number 2 here of this best of 3. Catalina is going to be the map into the north position. We've got the blue Protoss player representing XMG. It's socke. And his opponent down to the lower left. The red Protoss representing ESC 1-0 up. It's ShowTime. Now, ShowTime likely to be very, very happy with this as a whole. The big thing about what ShowTime's going to be sitting here and thinking is, hey, well, if I'm in this situation, if I'm 1-0 up, I can go for something a bit more risky potentially. I can certainly look at getting more pressure down. I can look at going for maybe an all-in if I think that's safe. Otherwise, he's got to really just be sitting there and going, okay, I could also play safe. I could also just sit back, bide my time, and if everything goes to plan, that's great for me. So, okay, at the moment, not giving away anything, neither is ShowTime. They're probably both going to go for a gateway first, just so we saw the kind of standard play that you get. Well, we're waiting to see what they decide to do. Big shout out to Chicken Lips. You were the last person to follow the channel. I do randomly shout out people who follow. I get too many people following new to shout all of you out. Every sub gets shouted out, definitely, as well as a bit of a parade. I don't know how I'm going to do the parade, but I'll think of something. I'll make some wooing sounds. But followers, I just randomly shout them out as I decide to look at who's followed recently. So make sure you're all following. I do tons of cool StarCraft content. If you're watching on YouTube, you could have watched live on twitch.tv/Madals. And likewise, if you miss any games, go check out YouTube and sub on there. I get daily content through. Anyway, we do have the gateway coming down now from socke. Meanwhile, the double gases on both sides. So this is a very similar build to game number 1. The important thing to keep a good look on is how many probes come down in total from this assimilators. If it's 2 in each, it's usually just a pretty standard play. If it's 3 in each, it tends to be quite tech heavy. Also, I love some of the people in the Twitch chat trolling. Someone called Summer StarCraft was like, I hate Madals, he punched his sister at uni last year. Well, I didn't know I had a sister for a start, so that's kind of awkward. And I don't think I've ever punched anyone, so that's also pretty awkward. I think you may have a mistaken identity there. Anyway, Cybercore coming down, I'm just quite taken aback by that, as how random that troll was. It was very, very strange. Still keeping a good little look at what he's still doing. It's a double gate opening from ShowTime, so he's going to be applying a bit more pressure. Stalker's coming out of all of those. It's all pretty good. Waiting to see when they do decide to start coming forward. The first Stalker already on its way out. The Zealot was skipped. Unfortunately for ShowTime, socke has been able to see this. He's like, okay, you're getting 2 gateways. Cool. I don't care. You've got to get all the way over here first. That'll take quite a while. Otherwise, socke adding in a couple more Stalkers. Kind of boosting them out, making sure he can get in a good defense position. And also going up into a Twilight Council very, very quickly. So he's going to be trying to tech out of his opponent, knowing that his opponent is going to struggle in order to keep up tech-wise if he's gone for these double gateways. 2 sentries coming out. Now, that is an interesting choice. Really interesting. Generally, you see a lot of Stalkers played if this is the variety of opening you're going for. But it looks like ShowTime is going to be doing this defensively. Waiting to see the Nexus get thrown down. There we go, boom. All looking fun. Otherwise, socke, he's just weighing this out. Getting his 3rd gate. Is he going to go for the Dark Shrine? No, it's going to be Blink. Okay, so by getting Blink down, he's going to have a massive tech advantage. The important thing for ShowTime is to identify that his opponent isn't expanding. That's pretty much the critical moment. If he sees that, then he knows that he's dealing with some kind of one-base play, and he's going to pump out a lot of units to make sure that he's nice and safe. If he doesn't identify that, he may not produce enough and get caught off guard, because Blinkstalkers are incredibly effective. This robotics facility is also going to be really important. If the Immortals come out, it's going to be a big win. 2 Immortals will pretty much stop Blinkstalkers off of one base with a little bit of support. They just can't be killed quickly enough compared to how much damage they can dish out quickly. So that is probably going to be a big kind of timing or a big key moment as things go through. We need to see that if ShowTime is going to take this series 2-0. Otherwise, if he can't get the Immortals out, if he doesn't pump them out in time, he could run into some difficulties. It's not necessarily going to be an all-in terms of those Stalkers. Obviously, the natural base is coming down now, so that says no, it's not going to be an all-in. But still a lot of pressure being applied here. A big investment by going for these Blinkstalkers. But because he's expanding off the back of it, obviously, socke can sit here and go, do you know what? I can just be careful. I can just try and pressure. I can try and be a little bit irritating. Oh, is it going to get seen? It does. Okay, this is big. Sees the flashing and the pulsing of that Twilight Council. Knows that something is getting researched. It'll always be Blink in PvP. Or at least nearly always. So, knows the Blink Stalkers are coming. The Immortal already on its way. That should probably get Chrono boosted for the most part. Noticing a little bit of in-game lag. Hopefully, that isn't disrupting the players. It's not on my side. So that's a little bit of a shame. But still, wait to see now if these Stalkers decide to waddle on in, if they decide to go for it. They could also blink up into the main. There's all of this cliff area that can utilize that. The Mothership Core coming across, guarding that vision. The blink is a big investment. Doesn't want to give it away yet. Can socke see this? No. He doesn't know as of yet, the Observer. For ShowTime coming in. socke pushing in forward. He does have, of course, his blink back up, so he can escape. Gonna lose one Stalker from this. Hallucinated a second Immortal, so that wasn't actually dishing out much damage. A Stalker doesn't even go down, so that's a nice bit of damage. 2 workers killed isn't incredible, but it's 2 more than otherwise. It levels out the worker count. Both players are sitting on the 2 next size, so therefore can get an equal amount of production. ShowTime trying to go for a little bit of counter-aggression with a single Zealot wandering through, picking apart at some of these probes. Is he actually going to be able to get one? It looks like no, he won't. This is such a sad Zealot. He always got so close to killing a probe. Just needed one more of his side blades to connect, and then boom, dead probe, but just unable to achieve it. Gets picked off. Being killed by a sentry as well. That's got to be pretty sad for you. You know you've had a bad day at an office if a sentry kills you. It's like, ah. They just look so harmless, don't they? They just don't really look like they should do anything. You know what the sentries actually really massively look like, right? Did anyone watch Stargate... Was it Stargate SG-1? Yeah, it must have been. Stargate SG-1. The Ori. Remember their ships? With that big cool beam thing? Don't sentries look like one of those ships? Just a bit more of a extravagant version of it. I reckon that's what it looks like. If you don't believe me and you never watched it, Google Ori ships, Stargate, or something like that, and it should come up with a picture of it. Because that's what I reckon they look like. It's been bugging me for a while. I knew they looked like something, but... yeah, there we go. Anyway, Robo Bay coming down as I start to talk about the actual game that's happening. Colossus production going to come on both sides. A slight advantage by like 25 seconds for ShowTime. It's little, it's incy-wincy. 1 probe advantage as well. Seem to be... okay, no, this is 1 probe advantage, so nothing too much there. Both players going to be fully saturating their mains and their naturals, so this is all good. Big shout out to Double Ohm for following the channel. You were the last person who followed when I just took a glance there. Robo pumping out a lot more Immortals. This is similar to what socke did last game. Got quite a high Immortal count. He's already behind in the Immortals, unfortunately. It's 4-1. That's a big advantage generally. No matter which way you try and spin it for ShowTime. +1 though is also an advantage for ShowTime. So that is very, very sad times overall. Good advantages coming through for ShowTime at the moment. socke needs to take some favourable advantages and engagements. He's going to blink a couple of Stalkers up. He's just checking first to see, and it's going to be a very happy Stalker that this Observer was there. Sees the 2 Immortals and decides against it, because that could have ended up quite sad. Third base, going to get taken a little bit sooner for ShowTime. Is socke going to respond to that by taking a 3rd of his own? Need to keep an eye on it. 1 Colossus is out. That gets scouted. This is also something that it's going to be a little bit frustrating. Oh, actually, no, it's not going to be too bad. Both players do have the first Colossus out at pretty similar times. It's only about a 15-second disadvantage for socke up against ShowTime. So if ShowTime were to get aggressive, clearly that favours socke, because he will still have the defender's advantage, and so we'll have an equal number of Colossus there. Now 1 probe sneaking off here for ShowTime. Where are you going, little probe? Are you checking for any sneaky bases, or are you gonna take a sneaky base? Still we wait. What's it doing? Proxy pylon could be the more obvious answer. Proxy pylon here would allow powering down there. That'd be quite cool. Otherwise, 3rd now coming up from socke. It's a long way behind that of ShowTime. It's about 40 seconds in game. So a consistent income lead for ShowTime overall this game. And that's actually a really important thing to note. It may not be gigantic, but it's still a decent lead. Otherwise, still waiting to see what else is coming through. Just a lot of production overall. Archons are going to start coming into the mix. They're going to be looking there to trample down any force fields that come up. They're going to be looking to try and get a bit more damage through up against any zealots that come crashing over. Otherwise, just more Colossus production. That's going to be a big thing. Both players are still, if I am correct, yeah, both players still on the single robotics facility, so no double Colossus production. This could end up being quite a passive time as things go on. Of course, the longer the passive time goes on, the longer it gives a chance for Tempest to come out. And that's really the late game thing that we'll see, if anything, is just ultra late game Tempests. They annihilate Colossus so well. And that's because Colossus are classed as air units, or they can take damage from air units, and that means that Tempests are ridiculously good versus them. Because they're also massive, so they deal 80 damage per hit. Waiting now to see when this comes through. One Colossus, okay, ShowTime. That Colossus should not have been there. Socke is now going to be very, very happy. He's like, oh, okay, thanks for that. That now means that I've got Colossus advantage. Good times. That's not something you see every day. Donations to your opponent in the form of a Colossus is rare and ill-advised. Donate something like a Zealot or maybe a Probe, but a Colossus is just far too generous. Socke. Level on the work account. Both players equal income. Both players on these 3 bases. Both players getting +3 down. ShowTime is a little way ahead on that, only by about a minute in-game. So a small window that he could try and utilize. If he can plan an engagement on the +3, it'd be good for him, but that's some quite fine refinement of the build and timings to consider. All the Zealots now running around, going to be checking for anything else sneaky that could be going on. Maybe going to go and look to see if they can get some counter damage out. Little Zealot on Zealot brawl here. ShowTime is going to win that, and we'll now continue taking down the pylon. We've also got Hallucinated Phoenix just coming to get a look at this army. You're going to see that there's a good number of Colossus there, and the donated Colossus is now going to feel very, very silly. Archon count is currently 3 to 2, although there is another one morphing in, so it's going to be 3 to 3 any second. Bang on equal footing. Army supplies 103 to 113. That is in favor of ShowTime then. Looks like we're getting a little bit of lag here. Not quite sure what's causing this. No one's flashing up there. Very, very strange. It shouldn't be on my side. I don't have any... I have a very, very good internet connection, so... slightly odd. Anyway, as we wake now, ShowTime is just going to be poising to go and try and take out this 30. He's getting counter-attacked by some Zealots at the moment, though, and that's frustrating. Losing that. Ton of pain. Little engagement coming here. The lasers arcing forward, rippling with energy against their opponent's army. Favorable trades are going to be very important. The Time Warp comes down. A couple of Colossus are getting hallucinated. Neither player losing any of those Colossi as of yet, although ShowTime is pulling ahead in the army supply. He crushes 2 on the ground, just gets a very good engagement position. His opponent's Colossus trying to back out 1 will now fall, but ShowTime, he's got momentum. He's continuing to crash on, continuing to try and push this forward to take the 2-0 victory. Down goes some Archons, all the Colossus alive, a couple of Immortals up as well here. This is very, very good news for ShowTime. The 4th was a risk. It hasn't been forced to cancel, hasn't been taken out, but look at the army supplies, 90 to 71. A drop also coming down in the main base now of Socke. These Zealots are going to have a lot of fun. That does mean that there's 5 Zealots worth of supply tied up there, so that does level out the army supply slightly in terms of the overall engagement here, but the 4th base is up. If that can stay without too much damage being done here in terms of a counter-attack, actually, Socke's not in a terrible position, even though he lost a lot in that fight. Archon will get surrounded. That's going to go down pretty damn quick. There's more Zealots getting warped in thanks to this warp prism. Socke doesn't want to pull his main army back, because if he did so, it would expose his 4th base to this large force here for ShowTime. ShowTime, though, dishing out the damage. Going to take down that forge. Looking to get as much damage he possibly can at the moment. Still chipping through, still getting that down. Robotic Facility taking a bit more damage at the moment, but with that falling, no more Colossus are going to be produced. Still, though, 4 bases up against 3. If this 4th can stay up, even though it's not mining much, it is still a good lifeline. And with the drop finally cleared out, Socke does have a bit more time. The Warp Prism is being allowed to live for the moment. Both players posturing. This army is a lot bigger. Look at the Archon count. That is just insane. 7 Archons to 5. And there's only actually 3 in this army here. So the other 2 back at the main. Engagement coming through. Some of the Colossus are out of position. The 4th base really wants to get taken down. A new Colossus coming in for ShowTime, but that's exposed to the side. It is soaking up 2 Colossus worth of fire, though, meaning that the engagement on the ground here going a little bit better for ShowTime. ShowTime able to get the much bigger arc. He keeps the Colossus up on that high ground alive, and that's going to do a massive amount. ShowTime crashing through. Socke loses his 4th, loses the majority of his army, and with that loses all hope of taking this series GG is called, and ShowTime will take this series 2-0 to advance on to face Patience.